All right, very pleased to be joined this time by Coach John Flath of Lee County. Coach, thanks for joining me.
I appreciate the opportunity, Chris. I got to tell you now, a big part of why I'm here is what you're doing for coaches in our state. You started out with the Parker Resources Awards, and everybody, just like our players and our kids in our classrooms, everybody wants to hear two things. They want to hear their name and they want to hear something good. But way beyond that, I think what you're doing is creating network and you're helping coaches. I for Christmas, I got your Work to Win book.
Hey, how about
And
that?
I'm telling you, there was stuff in there for young coaches and for guys that have been doing it 30 years like me. And some of the stuff in there really stuck with me. And I just thank you for what you're doing for all of us.
Awesome, man. That made my day. I appreciate it. I didn't even have to pay you to say that. That really, I do think that book is the best one of all of them. It doesn't not disparage any of the other ones, but I really took my time and tried to think of everything football related. So the content in there, I do think is helpful. I think you'd be hard pressed not to read through that and be able to pick up a couple things you could use, no matter who
Well,
you
I
are.
took I took a pen to it, and I've been a head coach twice, and I don't. You can prepare all you want, but until you've sat in that chair
Yeah.
and all the stuff that you have to think of and manage and do, and I think it really bogs a lot of guys down.
Mm.
And so that resource is super, and then just the network and the relationships I've built with other coaches in the state, since being a part of Parker Resources, has been
Awesome.
awesome. I got to see a lot of guys this weekend at the clinic and make some new relationships there based on the stuff that you're doing. So,
Awesome.
thanks again.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Coach. That really does mean a lot. Let's get on to you now. You got a good head coach, and y'all got a great staff there, and I'm excited to hear what you got to talk about today. So I'm gonna get out the way and let you take it over.
All right, awesome. So, I think probably the best place to start is with some pass pro fundamentals. People are going to say, well, what, you guys are 21 personnel running the ball, you got a 5-star back. But I think, at some point in the game, and this is something that Coach Fabrizio is always banging on us about, you're going to have to stand up and throw the ball and protect. And it's more than a notion to protect the passer. And so we try and get started with that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the fundamentals of that. Before I get going, I'm starting my 30th year, and I'm in a real unique place in my career where some of the guys that I coached when I started are grown or growing and getting married and have families and coaching. And there's a lot of joy. The greatest joy I get out of coaching is watching kids develop into young men over a 4-year period, and then to have the opportunity to continue to be a part of their lives later on is just unbelievable. So I think I'm in a unique place, and I know I've got it good. I don't have an original idea in my head. I've just been around great people. I think of my high school coaches, Tom Ruby, Aubrey Whitaker, Wade Rollinson, who, Coach Ruby, when I was in the 9th grade, he set me on a course by speaking life into me with one sentence. He told me I was going to be a Division I football player. It may have been a pretty obvious thing to him, but to me, it set me on a course for the rest of my life. So I just don't even know where I would be without those coaches. Even, my dad coached me in Little League, and so coaches have been a big part of my life. And then I got the great opportunity to play for Coach Bowden at Florida State. And when I started working, I got to work with Shat Boyd, who's a Division II head coach up in South Carolina, and a man named Jimmy Bernhardt, who passed away not too recently. And he was an incredible administrator and teacher, and he taught me a great deal about administrating the program. And then to get the opportunity to work for Bill Castle for 7 years at Lakeland, who just retired after winning the state championship every decade in 5 decades, 8 of them. And then the cool clinic, Coach Bob Wiley and Paul Alexander and Howard Mudd and Juan Castillo, a bunch of those guys on that cool clinic. I started getting those videos, really made an impact on me, and then I've got to be at Lee now for the last 4 years. And Coach Dean Fabrizio and I go back about 20 years to growing up in Orlando and cutting our teeth coaching in Orlando, but I never got to work with him. And then he's been up here at Lee since 2009 and has built a program around accountability. And I've never been any place where I felt more equipped and more supported to do what I want to do. And then out of that is the accountability that he's built this program on. As a coach, I believe it's my job to make things as simple as possible. That keep it simple, stupid. The more I can boil it down for my players, I think the better and faster they'll play. We want to be physical. I want to find as many ways as I can to bring that physicality out and reward it and encourage it without just wearing them out physically during the week. And then I think every coach's job is to build confidence in their players. We all want our guys to play confident, not afraid, not tentative. As an offensive line coach, I think it's our job to make our money an individual. That's the most important part of our practice, and we should be scrapping for every minute. There shouldn't be a time when our guys are standing around not getting something done and not working on something. And it's my job to equip them with the things that they need to be successful. And then I think this is another one that a lot of people miss is I need to advocate for those guys. This year I had 2 young players that are going to be outstanding players. And I was kind of getting, hey, why don't we play those guys? Why don't we play those guys? And I think, you know what? They're not quite ready. And in the league that we play in, you can destroy a kid's confidence in a second, and at the same time with scheme, I work with, I think, the best young offensive coordinator in the state in Jonathan Thompson. He gave a great presentation at Glazier this last weekend. And it's my job to say, I don't think we can do that, or I think we can do, or we need to do this. It's my job to advocate for those guys. I've been on a sideline before and have had a head coach tell me to take a guy out of a game. And I did it. And then after the fact, I look back and I was wrong. I should have stood up and said, hey, no, that kid needs to stay in. He'll be all right. At the same time, it's my job to make those guys who they need to be and advocate for them in the classroom and everywhere else. I think we need to teach for success. Christian Honeycutt gave a great presentation on year round. I think he's going to do one for Parker Resources, but the importance of building trust and confidence through your relationships, and then getting them to do their job. What I want to do is I want my guys to have a toolbox. I want to fill that toolbox with the things that they're going to need on Friday night and confidence to use them. And then as I teach drills, I try and sell to my guys, look, I'm never going to waste your time. Everything that we're going to give you is going to go in that toolbox. And if I can't find it on film, on our game film, I get rid of it, or we get a lot of film in practice. And if it's not going to work, we're going to dump it. If you think there's a better way, you can try it, but if it doesn't work, we're going to go back to this way. I think another one, and I've heard this through the Cool Clinics, and I've heard it in other presentations, but offensive line play is the most unique position in all of sport. No other position are you going to find the player has his back to the ball the whole time. It's an unnatural movement, wide base, bent down, the things that we're asking guys to do. And I think teaching movement is probably one of the most important things that we do. And one of the things Jimmy Bernhardt used to say is everything you do needs to have a thread that runs through it. And we try and do that in our teaching. So developing high school offensive linemen in the off season, establish trust, build relationships. This is one that Coach Fabrizio is always banging on. Develop accountability and improve communication. I think those two go hand in hand. We try and get to where our guys, if they're going to be late or absent or something, that there's text going back and forth, that they're accountable to each other and to the coaches. We talk about physical preparation. I think Coach Fabrizio through the years has built a tremendous foundation of preparing our guys in the off season in the weight room, and then developing their football IQ, indoctrinating your system. Technology gives us so many ways to do that. I think a couple of things I'm going to share tonight are stuff that I put in a Google Classroom that our guys have access to, and then install and develop technical proficiency. A big job, create culture for the OL, the things that we believe. And I'm going to share a few slides out of my player meeting that I try and create that. And then preparation. I want them to feel prepared going into the game. I want them to be excited about the game. And then, we only get so much that you can get done in your underwear. The rest is full pads, right? And we don't get a ton of opportunity to do that. So it's real important that those 8, 9, 10 days that we're in pads in the spring, and then the 4 or 6 days of summer OTAs that we get the most of that we maximize that with our guys in their pads. Okay. A couple of slides from my first meeting that I'll have with the guys is I'll share my philosophy. You know, I believe that the whole team is going to go as the offensive line goes. If we're doing our job, the defense is on the side, drinking water, reviewing, getting ready, and they can go out there fresh and hit that 3 and out, and then we go back out there. Offensive line, again, I talked about the most unique position already, but I share this slide because you got 2 pictures down here. You got an SEC football game in LSU on Saturday night that's jam full with almost 100,000 people. And then you got a 7-on-7 tournament with the guys over here got their water polo hats on, and there ain't nobody there. Not even their mamas are coming to those. So to me, the guys in the trenches, they're what makes football football. That's what people are coming out to see. They ain't going out to see 7-on-7 and all that other stuff. This is where it's at. Okay. Again, I mentioned Coach Fabrizio's built this program on accountability. It's accountability to each other as teammates. I want them to do their part. Everybody has a role. Coach Fabrizio bangs on that. Everybody's got a role. How important it is to be on scout team. How important it is to be the next guy up. That starts with attendance, starts with performance and contributing to the team. All right. There's 2 great pictures here. One of Wisconsin's offensive line in practice or scrimmage where they're in a full slide protection. And every one of those guys is accountable. They've got their gap. They're in the same posture. Their eyes are where they're supposed to be. And then I got this picture over here of this offensive lineman from the Saints hanging in there. He's got a hand in there for his buddy. He's being accountable, but his eyes are open to his gap, his kick foot and his hand are right where he wants him to be to do his job. Okay. And then the other one is communicate. I got this great quote from Bill Gates. It says, information is the reduction of uncertainty. And you can look at these 2 pictures of these guys talking it out. Minnesota's offensive line talking it out, pointing out who the threat is. And then you got Kelsey over here over the ball talking to the guards. It's really important that we communicate. That's on and off the field. All right. And then 4 great characteristics of great offensive line. Number 1, mental toughness. Mental toughness isn't how much you can dish out. It's how much you can take, how you can have poise. Coach Fabrizio uses the term poise and the composure in the fire, right? And we want to have that poise. We want to execute. It's very important. You know, that Bill Belichick thing that's taken on is do your job. You got your job. You take care of your job. Everybody takes care of their piece of the pie. We're going to be in good shape. And then attention to detail, the little things. We'll talk a little bit about this, but my stance, my split, my hat placement, my footwork, everything. And then the last one I think is the best players I had have been guys that finished, right? They give great effort and they're going to try and finish that block. All right. How are you evaluated? All right. As a group, the offensive line, we're evaluated by the rushing yards we earn and then the sacks and pressures that we give up. Okay. And then how do I evaluate you as an individual player? Do you know what to do? Are you trying to do it how we teach it? And are you in shape? Right. And those first 2, we're going to equip you. We're going to give you the resources through Huddle, through the meetings on Zoom, through the Google Classroom. And then are you trying to do it the way that we teach? And I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, how we prepare in the off season, so we can hit the ground running when we get to those practices. And then are you in shape? And that's how you work. And then the things that you're going to do away from the field: rest, nutrition, hydration, taking care of your body. All right. Here's where I want to start with this. I want to start with the fundamentals of pass protection, and then we'll finish up with how we develop those in the off season. All right. Only you can prevent sacks and pressures. All right. So how do we teach pass pro? Number 1, it starts with posture and movement in posture. I want those guys to be really comfortable. Remember Bob Wiley talking on the Cool Clinic about unconscious incompetence, working through a process of conscious incompetence to conscious competence to unconscious incompetence, where it's automatic, where we're not thinking about it, where I'm not having to think about a step, where I'm just getting there. And now I'm able to start playing the game in my mind, playing it before the snap. All right. Then we talk about punch technique and timing, sets and sets by alignment. Then we put it all together versus a bag, versus a pseudo one-on-one pass pro we call hand combat. than versus one-on-one pro. Now, I won't get any further into the tools and all that other stuff, just fundamentals, but I really think it starts with movement. I think when you try and start by teaching from the stance, they're trying to think of everything else. If I can get you moving in posture, and then we start working on the hand piece, then we get into the stance and kind of reverse engineering it. All right. So the 3 axioms of pass protection, I want every one of my guys to be able to repeat this verbatim. Number 1 is make them earn it. Make that pass rusher earn what he gets. All right. I want him to stop his rush and restart. Now, I was a defensive lineman on my first couple of years in college, and it was always have a plan, have a plan, have a plan, have a counter. We want to make that guy go to his counter. We want to make him go to his second move. The second axiom is never get beat inside, right? And I'll show you in the drills how we emphasize that. And then finally, stay as square as you can for as long as you can. And in the center and guards, that's right up there. They're going to set the depth of the pocket. The tackles are going to set the width, and we want them to be as square as they possibly can. And that becomes more square to the rusher as that guy gets upfield as opposed to the line of scrimmage. Okay. All right. Posture. I'll go through all this. We've got some pictures here. Quayshawn Sapp, who's now at Florida State. We're going to start with the feet. All right. We got a post foot to the inside, a kick foot to the outside. Our knees are inside of our feet. We talk about tent spikes, which is a Paul Alexander thing, where if you've ever pitched a tent, you can't put those spikes straight down in the ground because the wind will pull them out as it blows into your tent. You got to put those tent spikes towards your tent. So when that wind blows, that force goes in there. So what that means here is if somebody tries to knock him outside or make an inside move, that force is going down into that foot. That's his tent spike. Okay. We want our hips square and bent, tight elbows, low hands, and our ears pulled back, eyes on target. This is a pretty good picture here. All right. The purpose of the kick foot is to set my angle. That's going to be determined on where my defenders align, but that sets my angle. Obviously, the wider the rusher, the deeper the angle. All right. And then the outside hand is going to keep me square. And I got a couple clips I'll show in there. When I put that outside hand in there, I want to push that hand in, and I want that to help keep my pad square with my kick foot. My post foot and my inside hand work together to protect my inside. Again, never get beat inside. All right. And then I'll show it to you from the side. I'd like his eyes to be up like they were in the last picture and his ears back, but I want his shoulders right there behind his knees. All right. But you can see we want a heel to toe stagger. I really don't want a bigger stagger than that because that's going to open their hips, open your toe, open your knee, open your hip, and now you're a swinging door. Okay. But that same posture. All right. All right, how do we teach this in progression? All right, we're going to start feet before hands. That's another Paul Alexander thing. Every day, we're going to do what we call the big 3. This is our everyday drills, and really, part of it's a warm-up, but part of it is I want them so grooved in this position and comfortable in this position that it becomes unconscious competence, all right, like Bob Wiley is talking about. The first one is a posture drill, then a zigzag zone, and then a post-kick zigzag going backwards, all right? Then we'll work on the punch. Then we'll set for targets, and then some other things that we won't get to tonight. Okay. All right. So this is Southeastern University. This is Jordan Heldreth. Jordan's their offensive line coach right now, but you can see he's got his knees inside of his feet, post foot, kick foot, stagger's probably a little big. It'll just loop back. But what I really want is separate the lower body from the upper body. We want that, like a tank. We want the lower body to be the tank treads, and then the upper body to be the turret. You can see his upper body's not moving a lot, and he's got tight elbows. All right. These are some post sets right here. And one of the things I think is real important when you teach is that you teach those guys to hold it. So you'll see at the end of every rep, they're going to get set and they're going to hold that position. I want them to feel comfortable and know what that position feels like, where they're in posture, right? Post foot, kick foot, knees inside. They got their tent spikes, tight elbows, shoulders right behind their knees, eyes up, ears back, right? Then we'll go to target sets, right? Where we're putting that bag on the ground and we're saying that's where our guy is. We're going to set him, all right? This is Miguel Pereira. Miguel's now an AD in South Florida somewhere, but he did a great job with his pass sets and posture right there. And you can see he holds it. He's got his aiming point. He's going to cover 2/3 of that guy, and he's got tight elbows ready to go. Then we'll bring the bag in as a batter. Again, he's setting as quick as he can. If I was a guard or a tackle, I'd be ripping my hand out of the ground, and then I just want to stab. Again, ears back. He's holding posture right there. You know, we don't ever want their feet to go dead, but when we're teaching this, we want those feet to feel that posture, right? Here's a tackle setting, right? He's going to take 2 kicks before he gets that hit, all right? Okay, right here, this is Skylar Mayo. Skylar Mayo is now the offensive line coach at Eufaula High School in Alabama. And what he's demonstrating here is keeping square. The outside arm that he gets in that rusher is what keeps his pad square and gets him up there. Now, here's another little thing. This towel on the ground, that's our quarterback. We talk about being an advocate for your players. The defensive line coach, they want to put a pop-up dummy or a bag back there, and they want to come tackle that bag. You know, that's our job to say, no, we're not doing that. We're not going to have you go rolling a guy up on that bag. The towel on the ground is the target. That's what we're working for, okay? Here's another one. This is Wing Green, who's playing at Georgia Tech for us. This is our hand combat drill. Early in the year, we'll do this where we don't get into stance. We don't put the D linemen in a stance. We don't put our guys down in a stance. We put them in an up position, get their feet going, where we're working really on the techniques of pass pro and pass rush, without just straight collisioning them. All right. Wing does a great job here. Obviously a really long player of staying square, using the outside hand to keep, and then he becomes square with the rusher as he gets up the field. All right. Mirror drill. I got 3 or 4 mirror drills I like. This is Forrest Garner. He's the defensive line coach at Campbellsville University in Kentucky. Now, the most important part of this drill is the rabbit over here. All right. Cody is doing a great job of making that guy move. And when we do the mirror drill, I just want them going back and forth between the cones quickly. We want to be on half the man. And what you'll see is 51, anytime he makes an inside move, he's going to go as fast as he can to shut that off. Don't get beat inside, right? We'll trail the outside move, right? We'll react immediately to any inside move, right? The other guy over here, his rabbit's a little too funky, and he lets him cross his face. That's not what we want. This is early morning. He needs to be locked in like that guy, okay? All right, now this is a great drill. I'm going to bring this back with our guys this year, but it's stick mirror. Got this from somebody at Alabama years and years ago. But what it does is we're going to have that rusher simulate 4 moves. I want a bull, I want a snatch, I want an inside move, I want an outside move. And when we grab that stick, that really teaches us to lift hands and keep our feet active close to the ground, right? I believe strongly in hop hop. So you watch the first movement, his feet are close to the ground. That allows him to stop the drive, reset his hands. Okay, next one, fitted mirror. We want to get fitted in an advantageous position and learn how to stay there. Sometimes we'll put him in a disadvantaged position as well. Okay, then now we bring it all together. And here's Miguel again at center. He's going to kick set. He's got a post and a kick foot that allows him to defeat the inside move. Lift hand, post foot, spins, active feet, keeping him there. All right, this is a great rep here. This is Augie Schmidt. The first thing we see is he's going to beat that guy to the punch on a set. He wants to rip his hand out of the ground, get set. He's got inside hands. He goes a hop, hop. I'll slow it down if I can. I can't slow it down on here, but you'll see hop, hop, creates that space, resets his hands, and then he finishes. He's going to move it away from the point. Real important that your guys know what the launch point is on every pass and what the point of attack is on every run. Okay, now, perfect punch, okay? This is Cody doing this. What I don't like about what he's doing there is you see his hands and his feet are working together. I really want them to be independent. I want those feet to be working all the time, and I want those hands to operate independently, okay? This is a great drill, punch medley, okay? This guy in the middle was a Division I transfer and played at Western Michigan. And so he's got 3 years of playing experience. The guy on the left is an incoming freshman. And then the other one is an incoming freshman that played for us. But this is a great conditioner. And what we got going on here is we're going to do 10 regular stabs, short stabs, as if there's a 2x4 on their chest. Then we're going to go high-low, as if we got a jumper or we got a guy overextended. Then we're going to work the corners as you would on against a rip, and then into independent hands. And you can see as they come out of the drill, man, they're a little blowed up. Their feet are active. They're tired. It's a great drill. All right. And then I've got 3 or 4 clips. All right. We're going to watch this center here of effective punching. And this was a Juan Castillo thing when he was with the Eagles. And he wanted pass protection to be physical. And you can see Forrest Garner come over there and near point stab, that 3 technique, and put him on 1 foot, right? We get that from these drills. All right, here's Miguel again, had to play guard. We had a guy go down. He comes out to help. 1 hand stab, put him on the ground, all right? This is Angel Fausto and Kyle Green from this year against Warner Robins. They got an ET. The tight end helps us out a little bit. But what we teach that guard is as soon as that guy doesn't rush, that inside rusher doesn't rush him, turn your eyes outside because it's a game, and they put him on the ground. Heck of a player, that number 99 as well. Looking forward to seeing him again next year. This clip goes back a long time. This is our center, Brandon Martin from Lakeland High School. He sets over and he's looking for work. We had told him in the game that they had a rusher that liked to fall back in. So we got a double fan protection. When that guy works away from him, he turns his eyes back and looks to help. Boom, physical. Love physical pass protection, all right? I'm going to show you a little bit of 3-man sort protection, but this is from the first year I was at Lee. We're giving ground a little bit too fast on the zone side of this pass protection, but what I like is we're physical. We're not creating seams. They're communicating, and we're finishing up, sending them on their way, okay? I think it's important in your coaching to try and get words connected with pictures in 5 words or less. If you ask any offensive lineman at Lee, how do you play football? I hope that they would respond eyes, feet, hands. A big one that we're trying to get to by becoming automatic with our movement is play the play before the snap. Get your feet set, get your eyes up. The defense is going to tell you what they're doing. Play the play before the snap. You know where the ball is going. You know where the quarterback's throwing from. What do you have to do? Where are the threats so you can play fast, right? KYP. When we go in the spring and we're going to do some pass rush every day for 8 or 9 days, it's important that those guys start to learn, know your personnel. That's KYP. What's his favorite move? Is he going to bull rush you? Is he going to snatch? Is he going to try and go by you, right? Anticipate what's happening. Feet before hands, which we've talked about already. Tight elbows, stab and grab, set the hooks, hop pop. All those things should create a picture for your players, okay? Now, let's go to the off-season development piece, okay? Like I said earlier, Coach Fabrizio has done an amazing job. We've got a great facility here. And when I first got here, I was watching what we were doing. I was saying, man, if you got a facility like this, you can do this. And I looked at the huddle, and we've got a weight room out behind the school, 100 yards from the old locker room, 100 yards from the school building, had 11 racks in it. And I found some film in huddle where he was doing exactly the same stuff in there, building the guys that enabled him to build this facility we're in now, okay? So we're going to lift from January to May 4 to 5 days a week. We don't take days off. When we have a 5-day week, a few weeks in, we add in a football circuit on a Friday. And basically, we're going to divide into 3 groups. You're going to have the defense is going to go with Coach Butler and the defensive coaches there in class. The offensive skill guys are going to go with Coach Thompson and Coach Savage. And the tight ends, fullbacks, and offensive line are with me. And what we've got is 3 rotations, about 7 to 9 minutes with football position specific stuff, and then lift. With the offensive lineman, it's striking. The same techniques that I was showing you in the pass pro progression, we're going to start teaching them in January and February and March. A little push pull where we include some grip work, and then posture with sandbags. Now, all of this stuff, you don't have to have all these attachments and all these accoutrements. You can do this with weight plates. You can put a dummy against a wall. And if we got time at the end, I can show you some of that on huddle. All right. After school, the weight room stays open for an hour, hour and a half. We put a Champions Do extra slide up of exercises and mobility that complement what we do. And then in February to April, 2 times after a week, we'll start speed and agility. This is something we'll start this week, which is basically speed school. We're not trying to wear them out. We're out there for an hour, hour and a half, including warm up and cool down and rotations, where we start teaching that movement. And then in the summer, In June, the team works out on Monday and Wednesday. Tuesday and Thursday, those skill guys are doing 7-on-7. So Friday, it's a big deal to Coach Fabrizio, and we try and cajole those guys to get in Friday and get an extra lift as offensive linemen, so they're not going 4 days between workouts. What I've done there is I try and get those guys. I said, look, we can get in and out in an hour or less if you come in and work, and we all come in together. So I try and get them to come in around 9 o'clock. And I'll go through that in a minute, but it's a work capacity based deal. We're going to go fast, core lifts, variations, compounds, and get them out of there. Then come July, we're 4 days a week, lift, meet on the field. And the next thing you know, it's the season. Okay. So again, a little rundown on that station, 7 to 9 minutes a station. We've got strike pads on our racks. We got push-pull grip where we're going to work some dumbbells, some dumbbell floor press, some dumbbell row, some towel pull-ups. We got some fat grips that we put on the dumbbell. The guys basically have 9 minutes to get 8 sets of work done. Then we go over on the turf, and we're going to work posture with a sandbag. Maybe we'll do a mirror drill. I've got the 3-man sort that we put together to put on this presentation. All right. So step series, basically we're going to work four steps in here: right lead, left zone, left zone. All right. And we'll have that thing down there at a good pad level. I love this because I filmed this, and you can see our footwork is terrible. When we haven't done it for a few months, and by the end of this, that footwork is going to be grooved in, especially on that right lead, left lead in the zone. We should be gaining ground. There should be short steps, but that's the beauty of having the film. Okay. I showed you perfect punch on the field. All right. This is Dylan Long right here in the foreground. He's played for us for a couple of years. Really strong, smart, tough kid. Will be our center this year, but he's in posture. He's got a post foot, a kick foot, tight elbows. He's going to punch, right? Stab, grab. His elbows aren't coming back. And you got Brady over here. Brady's a rising junior, sophomore. He's kind of pulling his hands too far back, but his feet are great. He's in posture. Then down there, we got a couple of fullbacks that are buzzing their feet, not quite getting the idea, but they'll build to it. All right. The second drill that we'll do is punch medley. All right. And again, we showed you this on pads, but I'll cut it down to 5s. We'll do 5 regulars, 5 on the corners, 5 high-low, 5 independent punch, and then we move on. All right. Then we go to the second station. We got dumbbell floor press. The blue things are fat grips that make the bar bigger. And you can see that the grip, it affects how they hold it. This is a great short area explosion thing because they can't wind up. They've got to stop their elbow. We talk about how to do it safely, where they're going to cross the dumbbell over their chest with both hands. And then when they get done, they roll to their side to put it down. All right. Towel pull-ups. All right. This is Angel Fausto, be a 2-year starter for us this year, doing towel pull-ups. That's a big fat towel. He's using a band for assistance. Just a really hard worker right there, and developing his grip. All right. Cam Bell was a tight end for us last year that'll be playing at Albany. He's doing a fantastic job with his towel pull-up. We're getting our pull-ups in, but we're also working some grip strength in that station. All right. Third station, we're going to go to sandbag posture. All right. We want to get in that posture with a heel to toe stagger, knees inside of our feet, tight elbows, butt down. This is probably the best picture of any of them right here. You can see he's on tent spikes on both feet. His elbows are tight. Now, you don't have to have a Gilman sandbag. You can do this with a 45-pound plate. You can do it with 2 25-pound plates. All right. And then what we'll do is we'll do a little 3-man sort. Now, our spacing's terrible here, but the 3-man sort drill is an eye wash drill where we teach them how to zone protect. We'll send guys crossing their face. We'll send them delayed. It teaches them how to put their eyes where they're supposed to be and set to their spots. Again, our spacing's not real good. We're in there on the turf, but you can get the idea of what we're doing. All right. Now, come June, Friday mornings, I'm going to try and get them in there early. We're going to do the big 3, right? That's that posture that we talked about before. I'll show you some good videos of that. Then zigzag zone and post kick zigzag. Then some compound movements with the dumbbells, supersets along the way to keep the activity high, some loaded carries, the prowler sled, stretch, and then we're out of there in 45 minutes. Okay. Start the day with some jump rope. I think that's important in the off season, get those guys to start to control their bodies. All right. Some of them can do it. Some of them are terrible. We just tell them to keep working at it. We'll do that for about 5 minutes. All right, then we're going to go to posture. We'll work right down the line. You can see there it is. Post foot, kick foot, knees inside the feet, shoulders behind the knees. All right, tight hand, tight elbows, tight hands. I want the shoulders right behind the knees, ears back. All right. Some young bucks, as Caden Schlegel was our center this year, and Big Clint Hyde, who started for us in the Colquitt game and did a great job. All right, Jacob Brims playing center at LaGrange College. Did a great job for us for 2 years. And then here's our man, John Geis before. That's great posture. And then Gavin McDonald was a 5'9", 230-pound kid that had no business being there, but he was so committed to how we did things that we couldn't get him out of the lineup. All right. Okay, then we go to zigzag zone. And what we're doing is we're working our zone footwork, going up the field. And what I want to see is I want them to get all the way across the line. And I want the feet to go up and down. I don't want to hear their feet shuffling or sliding. I want them going up and down. This first guy right there is really good. Gavin's not too bad right there, but we're just trying to get them I want to hear their feet. What I tell them, I want to hear their feet up and down, get your body back and forth across the line. Okay, then post kick zigzag. This is Owen Green. Owen was probably one of the most violent hands players that I've ever coached. He's at the University of Georgia, going to be a doctor, but did a great job right here. We want to go 3 kicks, 3 posts. I want the 3 posts to be flat to the inside. The great thing about this is you'll see some young guys not doing such a good job. We want to get to where we talk about the tent spike, where their feet don't stop. Okay. You can see these are 2 young guys that are starters for us now, but when we were doing this, you can see Gavin's feet never stop, right? He's going to stick that foot, push off of that tent spike and redirect, where some of these younger players, their feet stop. And I don't want to see their weight on that outside foot. I want that foot to strike the ground, just like you hear about receivers stick their foot to redirect. See, this guy stops his feet. We want to rep them out of that. Okay. Mirror drill with some milk crates, right? He's going to go really quickly to the inside. We start really, really slow, right? All I want that rabbit to do is walk back and forth. And I want to keep him on my kick foot, on my kick shoulder. Any movement to the inside, I want to beat him. I don't want him to cross my nose. Don't let him cross your post foot. All right, now then we'll get some dumbbells out and we're going to do some compound movements, some RDL to upright row or a clean high pull, however you want to call it. All right, it's a good one. Dante Tinson was an all-region player for us this year. All right, and then we'll go to squat to press. All right, Zach Cleveland played at Delta State. You can see he's got a little band on his knees. He was coming off a knee injury. His glutes weren't working a lot for him, and so we're going to train him to do this. But this exercise really teaches them to engage their core. And then they would do pull-ups in between as a superset, okay? Then we get to some single leg. All right, here's some of our young guys. We'll do goblet single leg squats, rear foot elevated split squats, Bulgarians, whatever you want to call it, right? And let me go back to Zach on here, right? He's using chains, right? Once they get to where they can do it with their body weight, those chains are about 17 pounds. So he's adding about 35 pounds. It keeps it close to his body. Then when they get a little more comfortable with that, then we can put a dumbbell on them. Lots of different ways to do those. Okay, now these are some guys out of my general pop ed weights class, right? But this is band assisted pull-ups. I love pull-ups. I think it's a great thing, especially for the shoulder girdles, the back of their shoulders, got to pull a lot. All right, and then we've already addressed this and the other one, but this is one arm dumbbell floor press is what we'll do in the summer as well. Loaded carries again, right? Then we'll get some of our punch drills, all right? And then we get the prowler sled. We'll do some target sets right here. All right, this is some Southeastern where we're just teaching to get where we want to get on the rusher. Okay, then we'll teach them to redirect. We should see tent spikes, boom, right away. I want them in posture. Okay, then we get out the prowler sleds. We got about 300 pounds. This is a great conditioner. We go 10 yards and then come off the sled running. Next guy come in, the same thing. We got about 4 of these. We load them up. We get some great conditioning in. We try and start out with like 4 reps, then 6 reps, then 8 reps. And by the end of June, hopefully we're getting 10 reps of that. And that's great football leg drive right there, right? in the Google Classroom and in some of our meetings heading in, we'll talk about basic football knowledge. I think the first thing we start with is understanding defensive structure. And I think the most important part of the defensive structure piece is communication. When I get on the sideline, when you at practice or the video's not working because we're someplace where it's all cement, we need to be able to talk and communicate and be on the same page with what we're talking about without having video, without having a whiteboard. And I think that's important. All right. Then also for alignment, and then to anticipate why and what they'll do, build your football IQ. So I'll put this in the Google Classroom when we start with gaps, where the player aligns, how many gaps there are, what that means, techniques, head up techniques, shaded techniques, inside shade, outside shade, linebacker techniques. And then I'll give them a test. And it's the same sheet where I just take out all the answers and they got to fill in all the blanks. And until they get it all right, they just keep taking the test over and over. Okay. Then some front identification. And what I try to get them to understand is front identification. We're only worried about this B gap to B gap area, right? That's odd, right? Centers covered, guards uncovered. We call that an odd front. We're an odd stack team, right? So if we got the center's covered and the guards are uncovered and we got a Mike stack, it's an odd stack. Any defense that had 3 linebackers in it, we call it stack. So you could get odd stack, even stack, over stack, all the way down the line. We talk about the box. Everybody hears them talk on TV. What's the box? Well, the box is 3 to 5 yards outside the tight end or tackle, linebacker depth deep. We talk about levers, first level, second level, third level. Earlier, I talked about 5 words or less. We want to talk about block levels. When a guy comes off the combo too soon, I say block levels. You need to stay on that guy, block levels until the second guy comes to you. If you block levels and we don't get the linebacker, we get a positive gain. If we don't block levels and we go to the second level, let that down guy go, it's a TFL. So, and then we talk about how important it is to get up to the second and third level. All right. This is a great thing I got from the Cool Clinic. If you're a mic ID, how to identify the mic. I don't use it too much anymore. We got some tempo things that we do, so we kind of took it out. Okay. So right there, that's our presentation, Chris. I hope I don't know how close I was or not to getting it in 30 minutes, but those are some things that we do at Lee. I just, like I said, I'm blessed and fortunate to be here. I got to move the magic trash can to get the lights to come on. But I hope that was useful. I mean, you've had some great guys on. Nick Johnson's come on, and Jabari Luke. Those guys are some fantastic coaches in here. I just totally, Jabari Wild, I just totally butchered the man's name. But I just love the passion he brought to his presentation. I can't wait to see Honeycutts and some of these other guys. It's just a great state and a great place to coach. And again, thanks again for everything that you're doing.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I thought that was great. The level of sophistication on the offensive line would be one of the things that I tell people to try to explain maybe the difference between here and some other places. There's a lot of differences, and it's not like they don't have good ball coaches in all 50 states. I do think there's more per capita, for lack of a better word, of good coaches in Georgia than most states. And I think particularly on the offensive line, I see some really, really good coaches, dedicated offensive line that just seems like you don't have quite as many in some of the other states. So you guys done a great job. And this clinic has been part of it because it was so easy to get the line coaches. It was some of the other positions were a little tougher. So, no, I thought it was great, Coach. No doubt you guys got one of the best teams in the state for a reason. Work hard at it. And, you do a good job in the weight room too. So one day we have to get a weight room presentation.
That'd be awesome. A lot of that is what Coach Fabrizio's put in there. And I'm just blowing the whistle a lot and running a program that he's used for several years. And I agree with you about the coaches, and I think a lot of the stuff in what we're seeing is driven by the defensive guys.
Mm-hmm.
I made a list of some guys that we've seen here in the last 3 years. Eric Brantley is committed to Colorado from Valdosta, and Omar White, who was one of our guys for a couple of years. And then Gabe Harris, who just signed with Georgia, was at TCC and then Valdosta, then IMG, and Vic Burley. those guys will make you a good coach. You know, we played
Yeah.
Vic for the last 3 years, and they pretty much destroyed us. We came out with a win, but every year we got to find a way to compete with those guys. And if
Right.
you're not out on the edge and you're not finding how to win and how to beat those guys and talking to each other, you're going to be in trouble, and somebody else will be doing your job. That's another thing that comes along
Absolutely.
with coaching in this great state.
Absolutely. Coach, I really do appreciate you taking the time, and let me know if I can do anything to help you out.
It was a blast. Thanks, Chris.
Take care.